All right, so we're live on Facebook if anyone wants to share.
We do not.
Okay. And then we are live on YouTube if you'd like to do the same. Okay. You are the architect of your own failure.
Live on YouTube. This is the thing. I'm subscribed and I said like all notifications. I don't know why. Oh wait, there we are.
It just takes a minute.
Oh yes, I see it.
Okay, everybody.
All right, guys.
Turn off your mics and phones.
What?
You have to turn if you're doing this.
Brian always says it, but it's actually him that normally goes.
Oh, I don't even know what he's talking about. Which is, it's par for the course.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's not fine. Don't say it's fine if it's not fine.
It's fine.
Okay. So that's fine.
Wow.
Support for Wrong
you guys
About
still
Everything comes from Minnesota's
fighting?
credit unions. Credit unions are locally
still
based,
Mexican?
member-owned financial cooperatives that return earnings to members through higher savings rates,
last
lower
weekend.
loan rates, and reduced fees. Visit mncun.org for more information.
Used to be funny.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Wrong About Everything podcast. I am conservative strategist and Twin City Sugar, Brian McDaniel.
I was in Mexico last weekend. Did anything exciting happen? Javier Murillo.
Nothing for me.
I am small business attorney Davis Sensman.
And I am Mayor of Jordan, Mike Franklin.
And we are.
Wrong about everything.
Holy Hannah.
Hey.
Mike Franklin's back
Hey,
in town.
I'm not
He's
even.
one of the only politicians brave enough to still come on this.
Well, we'll see how fast I get canceled.
Well, the last politician from Jordan was here.
Got canceled.
Not by us.
I know.
And also,
Very
I
rarely by us.
And I didn't mean it. He just talked.
Tony, we love you, bud.
He just wouldn't stop.
It all works.
It's fine.
So
It's fine.
Davis, so you met Mike before the show, but Mike is our original funny Republican woman.
Yeah, he was,
Oh, okay.
he was on before. Amy.
Before that lady who used to
lady
be
who
on the
doesn't
show.
Never here.
That lady we used to know. Yeah.
Amy subbed for me when my third of now 4 children was born.
And she stole it?
And she stole it. Not the baby.
You've
the
had
show.
2 children since Wrong About Everything.
Yes. And the one that I was referring to was born in 2014. So that's talking about a decade of this show going on.
Well, Amy, he's taking it back.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, Amy's in Montana where they don't have the internet, so
Or laws. That don't deal with coyotes.
okay.
Mike promised.
You're stealing my jokes right in front of me.
That was Reed LeBeau's joke.
It was not.
I don't know. You and Reed have an issue to discuss.
Mike, where's my candy? You're the
in the
mayor
car.
of the candy store.
He's hoarding it for the parade.
Yeah, we have a parade on. Candy's in short supply right now in Scott County.
That's not true.
That's
I've got it all in my trunk.
the mayor of Jordan. If you go down highway, what is that highway?
169.
169, largest candy store in Minnesota, or do they say Minnesota? Or
I think
the
they say
in
in Minnesota.
Minnesota, yeah,
Yeah.
because
They say
the
a lot of
world
things.
seems.
They don't want to get over their skis.
Yeah, there's no boasting.
I have never been in there.
Really?
Really?
What?
And I went to college in Mankato, where at the time I would take 169. So I've driven past it.
This is not a Brian is old reference, but like I don't think that it was a thing when you were in college. I don't think it was a thing. Really, I was starting to become a thing when we moved to Jordan in 2011.
Oh, well, in any event, I have driven past that stretch of road 52 bajillion times, and I have never stopped.
They got good pies, too.
I heard that
Amazing
there's
pies. Thank
pop there that I would be
Yeah.
interested in. There's lots of things I'm interested in. It's just never
Fresh meats.
never really worked out.
Yeah, I would never guess that you haven't been to the candy store.
Yeah.
You know, candy's not hard to find in Lakeville.
Cuts like a knife.
we got candy and insulin.
And in that order.
Lakeville fulfills all of my needs.
Yeah, there you go.
But
Shout out to Mayor Hellier.
yep,
And
Luke.
Councilmember Walter.
Yep. Yes, Lakeville still has a small town feel because I got a text from Luke this week saying, "I just saw you turn left." Got your presence.
Cool story.
Cool story. Sure, let's stop ending the tour there.
Some say the only way you turn these days is left.
Yeah, boom.
Minnesota. Not me.
Hey, everybody. For those of you who might be new to the Wrong About Everything podcast, you might not know or might not remember that Mike Franklin was an original member of the Wrong About Everything podcast, along with Javier, myself, and Denise Cardinal. And then he started having babies and decided to run.
No, my wife did.
Well, yeah. You decided to run for stuff. Amy filled in.
And she stole my spot on the show.
And we couldn't get rid of her until recently.
Yeah, now she's gone.
Now she's gone. Back.
She's gone. Well, I'm back.
So now we'd like to announce that Mike Franklin is back permanently, full time.
No longer funny. No longer a woman.
No.
Maybe no longer a Republican. We'll see. But nonetheless here.
Yeah.
Present.
Mayor is a nonpartisan.
It is a nonpartisan.
When we started this podcast, it was 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, like 2 conservatives and 2 progressives, and now it's 2 progressive Democrats and whatever you guys
Partyless.
We still are what we are.
Yeah.
Which is
It'll all
what?
come back.
Which is
The pendulum
which is
will-
disavowed by your parties.
Soon.
That's what you are.
Just soon. It's
You
happening
are
soon.
more
Don't worry about
disavowed.
it.
You're more disavowed by your parties than I am by
That's
mine.
not. We're going to get to that. But first of all, I want to say we are very thankful to the Minnesota Credit Unions who allow us to be in the Minnesota Credit Union Network studios, deep within the bowels of MBC Studios here in Northeast Minneapolis. We got Profession Confessions' own Gabe Noah working the board. We would like to point you towards a couple different things. Please. We're on YouTube now. Javier, what's our YouTube handle?
WAE-podcast.
We would love if you would subscribe. You can watch us there. There's lots of clips that Gabe works really hard on, and I'm sure he would like a few likes and clicks on that. So please do that, as well as our website, which was done by Dustin Greggy over at Honey Hive Digital, which is at www.wrongaboutEverything-podcast.com.
And if you're joining to hate watch, YouTube comments.
Just
have at it.
They're right there for you.
Boost that up.
Have at it.
More the merrier.
They always say don't read the comments. I promise you, we're going to read every single one.
Yeah.
You might do dramatic
Probably because
readings.
there'll only be about 3 or 4.
I promise you I will not.
Yeah, well, we'll
see. Now that I'm a permanent member of the show again, we'll see.
Yeah. And also, if you're driving around, you might see us on a Blue Ox digital billboard, which is also super exciting.
Make sure to look really closely as you're driving to see if it's a Blue Ox billboard, because if it's not, don't bother looking.
If we're on it, it's Blue Ox.
Yeah, okay. I'm just saying, check before you even read what's on it.
We're exclusive, baby.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, good. What happened this week? What's going on?
We're not done.
Oh my God.
We're not.
The show still takes forever. I have candy to distribute.
I'd like to talk to our friends at Bradshaw and Bryant, evidently not Mike's friends, but our friends at Bradshaw and Bryant. Their entire team of attorneys and staff is dedicated to providing the legal service you need, combined with the service and personal attention you deserve. If you have questions about how they can assist you with a personal injury, wrongful death, or criminal defense matter, do not hesitate to contact them. Consultations are always free. Please contact them at 800-770-7008 or at minnesotapersonalinjury.com.
Snitches
need not apply.
Snitches need not apply.
Mike Bryant was on the show.
Made that clear.
He's like, I just asked him a question. It was like, what if someone turns on someone else? He goes, I don't usually represent snitches. He was like, wow, that is better than any copy you've gotten us here for.
He didn't say live like they get stitches like that.
He did not.
It was implied.
But it was strongly implied.
It was
strongly
implied.
Just don't call him if you're a snitch.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yeah.
Don't try to hide that either. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's a good call out.
Before we get into all the stuff that's going on, we want to throw out a little condolences to a friend of the show, Mary LaHammer, whose father, who was a newspaper legend in the area, passed away at 90. He had worked at the AP and had been on the Strib editorial board, and was really just, growing up, was just one of those names that you just had always knew, and was always kind of on the Mount Rushmore of journalists from the.
Was he on broadcast, or was he on broadcast TV?
I'm not 100%
sort of like because people talk about him sort of almost like a Walter Cronkite.
Yeah, and he was, like I said, he was at the AP for 34 years. So anyway, he passed. He was with his family, and we send our warmest thoughts to Mary LaHammer and her family, and her father, Gene LaHammer's passing at 90 years old. So my son goes to Iowa State University, and the big rivalry is between Iowa State and Iowa.
Okay.
With the Cyhawk.
Where are we going? Where are we going?
I know. And so this weekend.
This is not on the run sheet.
This weekend is the big battle between Iowa State and Iowa for the Cyhawk Trophy. And we as parents, and he as a student, got an email saying that there's going to be a visitor to the Iowa State game.
Who?
Former President Donald J. Trump.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of people I know aren't going now, not for any political reasons, but because this is going to just F up traffic like no tomorrow. So I told Matt, just come home. Come on, get out of Dodge as soon as you can, because it's going to be a mess. But
why is he in Iowa?
Well,
I don't watch the news anymore.
My non-political son is going to find out how annoying being in Iowa is real quick.
I got to say, I went to the Iowa State Fair about a month ago, less than a month ago.
You and Amy Klobuchar
happened to be. Oh, she was there too.
No, not this year.
Not this year, but
she knew better.
When she was running for president, she couldn't say which state fair was better. Which is insane.
You don't remember that?
Yeah.
I vaguely remember. Again, I don't pay attention anymore. It was towards the end. The Iowa State Fair is very mid. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. Well, it's a decent county fair if it were in Minnesota.
I'm not from here, so I don't always subscribe to the Minnesota exceptionalism that anything that we do is better than anything anyone else does. But I will say, the Minnesota State Fair is amazing.
It's a pretty big deal.
And I can't imagine, or certainly have never been informed of, a fair that is as good. And I just
I've heard Texas is as big.
I heard it's big, but I also heard it's more like you're selling like farm implements.
Yeah, that's exactly how I heard it described. It's still a state fair the way it was 100 years ago.
When we first moved to Minnesota, John and I were at a gay bar, and the gay men were talking about going to the fair, and I was like, what the fuck is this place that gay men...
All right, we're going to be on MCN 6 at 1 in the morning.
Because of the gay bars, really?
No,
because they homophobic?
You're F-bomb. You don't even hear it. You don't even hear it anymore.
I still hear it.
Yeah.
Wait. So I was at the state fair. I spent half a day there, and the Iowa State Fair, and are
you running for something?
No, I was there. Happened to be in Des Moines for a conference. And president, yes. I haven't researched this, but I believe I would be the first mayor of Jordan ever to ascend directly to the presidency, or descend, as it were.
Mayor Pete did it.
Mayor Pete, yeah.
No, he didn't.
He tried it.
He tried it, right. He was never mayor of Jordan.
Yeah, that's correct.
That was my... But I was shocked. There was... I did not see any presidential candidates at all. I saw Tim Scott in the hotel lobby and Asa Hutchinson.
Was this before or after the debate?
This was before the debate.
Did they prohibit it?
This was like 3 days after Vivek was rapping with his shirt off, I think, or something.
Oh, good God. And got a cease and desist from Eminem.
I mean, I did not see that, nor anyone else. No. So it was fine. It was fine. It's good. Whatever.
Anyway, so Javier was mouthing off on Twitter.
Yeah.
Caused a ruckus.
Yeah. I really was in Mexico last weekend. And when someone sent me a link,
I'm so sad I can't even riff on that anymore.
I know, it's because I was actually in Mexico.
Oh, I understand. Used to be a thing. Scroll back in the archives.
So yes, Josh Kimber, listener. Is,
we know Josh Kimber. We know Josh Kimber through Mike Franklin.
We do.
Says Twin City Sugar has never been to the candy store. This is my amazement as well.
No.
You can't use that name anymore. There's an asterisk.
Josh Kimber?
No, Twin City Sugar. Asterisk.
Well, I just want to say to Josh Kimber, bear down.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, so
Javier mouthing off on Twitter.
Yeah. So I was in Mexico when the Minnesota GOP sent out a press release demanding that the governor of Minnesota disavow me.
And this is in relation to what you said about the SROs, the student resource officers.
About the cops being up in arms.
Yeah. So let me
repudiar, right?
Nice. Yeah. Well done. Yeah. You've been Duolingoing before coming on Wrong About It?
Curious how it would come across in Mexico.
The free week of Babel has been.
Listen, it was mostly for the entertainment value.
So let me see the backstory about why I decided to tweet and why I tweeted like I did, because I tweet sometimes bombastically, and this time bombastically, but very specifically because it seemed like a decision had been made by Democrats that this was going to blow over. And so the message, so all of the airtime was filled up by some stuff that was just false, but all entirely by police and police narrative. And the Republicans had a press conference where they were asked many times, well, how would you change the language? And they couldn't answer that. And I was very frustrated with a lack of messaging from Democrats on this issue.
I'm shocked they didn't take your advice.
They have since they started talking. I'm not suggesting anyone say what I said. Because they are not me.
Yeah,
I am me.
Yes.
Do you want to remind people what you said?
I said many things, but I said. I thought you were going to put the tweet up there.
It's right on the screen.
There you go. Yeah, super excited about. I said so. Cops are super excited about choking children, and the controversy is we won't let them because. At the heart of this is the fact that, like this, what they are opposed to is language that restricts their ability to keep children in a prone position, or ways that'll disrupt their breathing, unless they're and there is an exemption built into it, unless the child or anyone's life is at risk, is endangered, and this was not going to blow away. It hasn't blown away, and then like the Senate author of the Dem author.
Swadzinski.
How do you pronounce
Swadzinski?
Swadzinski.
We call him Senator Swad. That's what
right, Senator Swad. He said, well, we're open to change the language, which then just open the door a little bit, and then so now there's all this talk about a special session, and the governor said he's open to a special session, and the reality is that I think the policy is well written. It's well done. It was introduced in the prior legislative session.
It's a rule in prisons.
It's actually right. The same rule applies.
It's the same rule in prisons. Right. So what these cops are saying is, yeah, we agree it's inhumane to treat a prisoner that way unless there's risk of death or bodily harm. But we would like the freedom to treat children that way.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a good amount of cops who said, yeah, this is fine. We're staying. It wasn't all cops. There were cops in several parts of the state who were like, that's fine. It makes sense.
I'm not an expert on the language, obviously. There seems to be, at least among some Republicans and some Democrats, a belief that even if you're not saying that you have to use these maneuvers, that the language needs to be. They're not saying that they're going to remove the language. They're going to clarify the language because it appears as though it is written in a way that is too vague, so that it is unclear what they can do and what they can't do under certain circumstances. And my kids are actually in a different school district than this, but the Lakeville school district, the chief of police and the superintendent sent out kind of a joint letter saying that they're not going to be pulling the police officers out, but the language does need to be clarified. There are many other districts and schools where the cops are being pulled out, and as a father, I want school resources there if necessary who have the tools to keep my child safe. Now, I understand if my child is the one doing something questionable, that I might have a completely different opinion. But because all of my kids are angels, I just want them to be safe if there is someone with a knife, as we saw in
Well, in that case, they would 100% under that law be allowed to take that person down.
That's the question, as I understand it in the research I've done, is that part of the confusion on the police officer's behalf comes from the statute that this now sits in, which is an education statute and not the statute that governs police behavior. And I'm going by what I have been told.
Except this statute references that statute.
And so the question becomes, we're not sure how a court or a prosecutor would treat this.
But then the Attorney General clarified it and said, we're giving you a blanket. I mean, here's the thing, though. Those holds are dangerous. We saw that with George Floyd. We're talking about the kind of hold that George Floyd died from. And I'm going to tell you, as a lawyer who's been lawyering for 20-some years, no matter what happens, if you take a kid down to the ground, no matter whether this law is there or not, and you injure that kid or kill that kid, you're going to have a lawsuit. So, like, this law also protects cops in a certain way because it's saying, don't even think about it. If you think you need to, the officers in schools, call a cop. Call the actual cops who are going to come and have you.
Well, an SRO is an actual cop.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're not.
I mean, they're licensed Minnesota police officers.
No, I know they are, but they're also saying they're there to help
to work with children.
Yeah.
Like there's no.
I'm not sure that there's no special training.
There's actually no special training. There's no certification. There's no special training.
Well, certification and special training are different things.
There's no special training, Mike. Like nurses in schools, you study to become a nurse, but then to be a school nurse, you have to have a special certification. And cops who work in schools receive no special training about like how to work with children. And by the way, the language that the Minnesota the MPPOA is circulating to fix the language is a repeal of the language.
Yeah, it's a complete repeal.
It's actually exempting SROs completely from this.
Well,
because this applies to all schools.
But that's not how the legislature works. Because for a special session.
But you said no one's suggesting complete repeal. They are suggesting complete repeal.
Well, but they're not an elected official.
But here's my question: where were their lobby? I mean, we all know cops pay a lot of money for lobbying. Where were their lobbyists when this was getting decided? It feels like this was a political, hey, especially because not all cops agree. The AG has said, okay, here, we'll clarify it for you, which is part of the job of the Attorney General to help interpret the laws. And they're all saying it's not good enough, it's not good enough, it's not good enough. It's because this is a political issue, and it's like Republicans decided, hey, we're going to grab onto this, and the Democrats didn't handle it well. They didn't push back. They didn't say, you can't do this in prisons. Why should you be able to do it in the halls of our schools?
Javier handled it well.
I actually think he did. Well, because it's ridiculous, and it's like
it got our base riled up to talk to our legislators, which has right now like progressive legislators fighting back against Democrats who are caving on this.
Well, two things. One, so what special interest groups want is immaterial when it comes to a special session, because a special session can only be called by the governor.
Right.
And I think T-Paw one time went in there without a deal, and then hilarity ensued. But they usually have a very concrete deal before they are called back, and then also the governor can't adjourn it. Only the DFL-controlled House and Senate can do that. So there are safeguards that would go into if they were to do this. Now, when I heard about this, my first thought was, well, they're not going to go into a special session just to do this. The DFL will have a list of 4, 5, 6 things that they want to do that Republicans probably aren't going to be able to stop, and they should think long and hard about whether this is something that they actually would want to do. I find it curious that the governor and other people were seemingly open to it, but I think the real question is, Javier, were you upset that they referred to you not by your name, but as a Walls appointee in Alpha News?
Handpicked appointee. Handpicked.
Is there another kind of appointee?
Because the state party at least called you by name.
I'm not sure what limb he used when he appointed me. I don't know. I was not there when it happened. It was so. And I got thousands of emails from Alpha News. I mean, no, sorry, not thousands. I got one email from Alpha News.
Well, which is it, Captain Truth Teller?
I got one email from someone who reads Alpha News who said the recent statements you made claiming about police officers are, quote, balderdash on stilts.
I mean, that was really good, though.
And I thought, like,
did Joe Biden?
That person was 200. I wrote that to you.
So it is actually, it was nice. So I wrote back to him, and it's like we had a nice exchange. Then he writes back to me and says, well, and just FYI, my daughter goes to St. Paul Public Schools, and so I would hate. I would actually want to read it. I have a granddaughter starting high school in St. Paul this year. I don't want to think of her entering an enrollment that can't be controlled by law enforcement when necessary. And I informed him that his granddaughter has not had SROs in school for several years.
And he said, "What? What?"
The email communication stopped at that point, but because St. Paul Public Schools use private security officers, actually.
Did this person follow up with the comment, "Go candy a yam, you two-faced spit licker"?
Just waiting for it.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Well, Dash on still.
You're all strawberry and no preserves, you foghorn blowing trolley jumper.
Remember we used to have old timey. Remember Mike used to be.
Hey everybody, I'm here with the insults again.
Oh, that's a deep cut.
Old timey guy. Old timey guy used to visit us.
Denise Cardinal loved.
That's before I died.
Yeah,
before you died.
They wrote me off the show.
Yeah, but I mean, to your point, right? That the special session won't happen until there's agreement. This is why I don't understand why all of them aren't saying the same thing. Saying these are the goals that we wanted to achieve. We wanted to make sure that kids' breath is not constrained. And whatever your concerns are, give us the language so that because the ball's in your court. Instead they were silent for so long that then they were cowering, we're open to changing the language, but it's
when you say they, do you mean the DFL or do you mean the GOP?
No, the Democrats said that they were open to changing the language, and then Republicans had a press conference where press asked them so what changes would you recommend? And they kept being asked, and they had nothing to say.
Well, in fairness to them, they were consulting the platform and what the platform says on the matter.
There's no planks.
That's what they found out. There's no platform.
Hey, we don't have any issues, okay?
Is that true in the state as well?
No, I think the state has a platform, and
they just don't have any money to enact.
I mean, mostly it seems to consist of disavowing people on Twitter. All of the recent statement,
there's a pot kettle comment here.
No, I'm saying
you're not disavowing anybody.
I'm not a political party.
Repudiar.
I'm not a the funny thing is I hadn't been on Twitter in a long time, so
which was a wise move.
No,
political fiesta.
It's a horrific
fiesta. Yeah. No, I think people cops should have to explain why they can't do the job the way that nurses and everyone else is required to do it, and agree to not constrain the breathing of children. Outside of the thing with the whole SRO issue is just it's so out of the realm of facts. Right, because SRO expansion happened after Columbine, the Columbine massacre in the 90s, and lots of federal money, millions of dollars went into expanding SROs. Since and now I think it's about almost 40% of public schools in the U.S. have police officers in them. School shootings have not gone down. Is actually and they almost never have anything to because
we saw in that where was it, Texas,
Uvalde,
where
Texas.
The cop stood outside and ran away, and then he still didn't get. I mean, nothing happened to him.
Right.
He's still got his job. He's still fine. So it's don't worry. You can literally run the other direction, and you're not going to get in trouble.
Thousands and thousands, and the problem with to my mind with is that you have thousands of children being arrested, and then having records of having been arrested in their schools. Sometimes having to put that on college applications, and the racial disparities on arrests in schools are dramatic. So there's a false sense of security, guys. People have it. It is what it is. But at a minimum, we should be able to demand that they not perform restraints that are literally banned in prisons.
Well, I think at the very least they have to make me as a parent feel comfortable that my kids are as safe as they can be in school. And the children that you keep referencing, some of those children have knives and guns, and we're seeing, every day there is kids younger and younger that are ending
and in that case they could, under this law, they could take them down.
But I want the police to have, and I'm not even 100% disagreeing with you guys about this, but if there is indecision by the law enforcement officer, that could be enough time for my child to get hurt. I want them to know what they can and cannot do, and it might be crystal clear in the language that exists, but both the Republicans and the Democrats, many of them, seem to be saying it is not crystal clear, and I am interested in it being crystal clear, so that they're just like with body cams. Body cams protect the cops; they protect the citizens. I think that's something that is a definitely a net positive, and I think having it be as clear as it absolutely needs to be what they can do and what they can't do.
It's kind of,
but just let me finish. And then the police, they can make the decision then, saying we're this is good enough or not good enough. We're in or we're out.
But why didn't that ever come up during the session?
I can't speak to how the session.
Why can the Republicans say we? I mean, it feels like a political decision when some cop said, hey, we could just say we're not. It feels very political because it's like, you guys just decided this was just right before school started? You decided this was too vague? Right. It passed in May.
Right.
Well, I mean,
to be fair, a lot of stuff passed in May. They just got to this section.
But I mean, read it. Well, you know what I mean?
They have a lot of money for lobbying. They
also.
Do. Like,
this has been the rule.
No, I don't.
This has been the rule for special ed kids for a long time, and no cop ever said, "Hey, this is too confusing. We don't know. This isn't clear." No one ever said, we don't know if a sped kid has a gun or a knife, whether we can take them down. No one ever said it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, this is something that the DFL passed. Only the DFL has the ability to go into a special session with it. So if they are comfortable with it, they don't have to do anything. And when they come into session next year, the Republicans don't have the votes to do anything about it. I don't work in public safety very often. I have no idea what the debate was on this as it was happening. There's a lot of people are saying a lot of things because there's just a lot of shit that's getting passed. But yes, it is something that sometimes things slip through the cracks. I.e., remember weed gummies?
Yeah, we accidentally legalized weed.
Yeah.
Senben.
By we, Senator Benson.
Well, but
we didn't do anything.
The royal we, but the editorial. This would not have happened in Georgia.
This is not a good commercial for my lobbying services, but in theory, that is something that I should have picked up on. That is something that I should have informed my clients was going on.
Gummies?
The gummy thing. And I missed it along with every single Republican legislator.
Right.
But I didn't see it. So it does happen. I don't know. I'm too deep in the swamp to ever be surprised that something's political. Everything's political. They're going to make everything political. And when you're in the minority, and they're in the minority, the deep minority, when you're in the minority, bringing these issues up is all you can do because you don't have the votes to pull the language completely out or alter it. So they either can negotiate, or they're just going to complain about it.
One thing that's going to disavow.
One thing that's going to be interesting is that for the jurisdictions where the police are not going to work as SROs, where they're essentially going on strike, that that funding for them is paid for by the school, so they're going to have to get paid by the city or whatever the jurisdiction is. So it'll be interesting how city budgets.
As the only person who's ever voted on this, I think. Have you guys ever voted on this?
Voted on what?
Funding an SRO position.
No, I have not.
I've done it multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
I did it, but I didn't know it.
I don't know how other cities do it, but it's a share. It's a cost share between the city and the school district, and it's I would suspect if this were to happen in my jurisdiction that the school would not want to pay that money, and I don't think they would get much pushback from the city because we wouldn't be rendering the service. And in our case, at least, that's still a full-time licensed police officer.
Then you'd eat the cost.
Well, no, that cop would just go back into being a full-time cop for the city. So
right.
To the extent that we'd have an extra half-time cop that would be there to patrol the streets and do all the good work that cops do in the city of Jordan.
No.
Where the candy store is.
Into an ad there.
Yeah. Where this has never been an issue, never will be. And look us up, jordanmn.gov.
Yeah.
New neighborhoods being built. Schools are great. Very safe. SROs.
Yeah.
That's SROs.
In the halls.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we go on to national?
Sure.
All right. Mitch McConnell, everybody.
What's up with
what's going on with him? We know it's not. All these
the doctor said he's fine.
All these doctors were like, he didn't have this, or this or this, and it's like, so what is going on?
Here, and I was at a fantasy football draft last night with. I was the youngest person in the league by quite a few years. So these were older gentlemen that were having this
fantasy what?
Fantasy football.
Okay.
Football.
Repudiar.
I think you call it football de americano.
Football americano.
Americano. Anyway, so these are older gentlemen who were talking about not only Mitch McConnell, but Joe Biden and Trump and all of these people.
Our elderly leaders.
And they were saying people their age, because I'm the youngster, shouldn't be in charge.
They're not that old, are they?
They're not
You've got
that
like 80-year-olds.
That's a hot take.
I am someone who is very much not in favor of term limits.
Same. And these people are
not for age, not for length of service. I think the American people should be able to make any dumb decision that they want to make. But American people, you're making dumb decisions, and the parties, I am as disturbed by what's going on with Mitch McConnell as you all are. I also am disturbed by a lot of the things that are happening with President Biden and with California
Dianne Feinstein.
And I'm going to take the R's and D's away from their name and say this is bananas.
Yes.
It is not okay for people to be having these very serious health. It's not good for them.
No,
it's not good for us. Dianne Feinstein not knowing where she is or
Dude,
what
you're
she's
going to burst an artery.
That's okay.
And then you're going to sound like
you
Mitch
heard him
McConnell.
say he was the youngest guy in the room, so he's fine. Don't worry, he's fine.
I got my insulin. That helps, right? But no, I do think that when we're picking leadership, party leadership, when we're picking presidential candidates, we don't have to pick the oldest, whitest guy in the room.
Are you sure?
We don't.
No, we specifically do. That's in the platform.
That's all we do. But
I think it is the platform.
I mean,
I think it is.
Mitch McConnell, doesn't have, can certainly cause a lot of trouble with something happening, but with faulty decision making. Doesn't have his finger on the button the way the president does. But that does this all makes me nervous.
I just want to know what's wrong with them, because they were like, well, here's the things it's not. And I was like, well, that gives me
just a long list of things it could be. Yeah, I will say this.
It's got Mr. Burns running the Senate.
I don't know. I will say he looks
less than half the Senate.
It's the only time he doesn't look evil is when he's
when he's having one of those sad, vulnerable moments.
Yeah, he's just staring off into the sunset. You're like, he looks like someone's grandpa.
Well, he has lieutenants. He has people that can go up there and say, Leader McConnell said, and I really think that I don't know why
Dianne Feinstein's staff is freaking running their office.
Well, that's part of the problem. It's like those people are like.
I have no quarrel with what you said. Voters do better. And
why do they keep
and do younger?
These people?
Hey Javier, remember when Mitch beat Grimy?
Yeah. Oh my God, there's another deep cut. Grimy.
What was her name?
Allison Grimes.
Allison Grimes
ran against.
She was the Great White Hope.
We would call her Grimy because that's a Simpsons reference, and he would get like unnecessarily upset about
if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, Grimy. It was a thing.
Roll the tape.
Wasn't it?
That was before
Ashley Judd. Did she run against him too, or wasn't she going to?
She was going to, but she didn't.
Oh, okay.
She threw her weight behind.
Well, this is an election year for
because
Mitch.
she was like, I have health issues, so I'm not going to run.
It's true. That is why she didn't run.
Right. Well, he is literally up for election this fall, right? Mitch McConnell in Kentucky.
Is he?
I believe that's true. And I believe from the
he's in.
They changed the law so that
they changed the law so that even if he dies, the Democratic governor doesn't even get to appoint someone.
Like it goes to the party. The party gets to appoint someone.
This article that was in there was from 2020.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, I just read that without looking at the date. So no, he is not up this year.
No.
Citizens of Kentucky, you have no authority over
you have no out.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you do, just not now.
Yeah.
So my son's football seatmate Donald J. Trump, he's having a couple of defections off the old Donald J. Trump team.
Express.
This is, I mean, like next year is going to be so freaking chaotic. If you think like the traffic to your son's football game is bad, like the trial's going to start before Super Tuesday, like the day before Super Tuesday. The day before Super Tuesday,
when Trump formally becomes the nominee again.
And right, so what exactly is the malady? What is the thing that is infecting, like, your side? Like what? Like I cannot. I know we talk about this all the time, but I cannot wrap my brain around people's inability to let go of that.
This will all blow over soon.
Yeah, no, it's literally.
It's been years.
This is another callback to the Mike Franklin days. It was hashtag.
It was 2015. It was hashtag soon. This is just a fad, and I still believe that. It's still a fad.
I think the worst defection is going to be for him, that IT guy. That IT guy completely changed his story. The IT guy from Mar-a-Lago.
From Mar-a-Lago.
And I feel like somebody
he got a public defender too.
Yes.
He did not get a high price defender. He got a public defender, and the public defender is like, so let me tell you. And the guy's like, okay, so it turns out.
Because I just feel like the IT people know a lot.
Oh yeah.
The Mar-a-Lago suit strikes me as the most legitimate one. I mean, the one where you can say the least about the political motivations behind its filing. Look, don't hear what I'm not saying. This is not me defending Trump, but the two of the 4 lawsuits seem like they wouldn't be brought against Mike Franklin, mayor of Jordan.
Lawsuits or the criminal.
The indictments. Excuse me. The indictments. The indictments. The New York one and the January 6th one strike me as. They give ammunition and motivation to Trump supporters to say this is BS. They're out to get him, because I think there's a credible case for those two that you can make those arguments. Which by the way, just to answer your question though, like with the malady, I think there was at least hope, if not evidence, that prior to the New York lawsuit and why do I keep saying lawsuit? Indictment and the threat of indictments forthcoming after that Trump was sort of fading within the party. And these indictments breathed fresh air into his candidacy in a way that boggles my mind, that we are now potentially, a major political party in the United States is going to have potentially a convicted felon as its nominee. And the question will become whether he can pardon himself. If he's elected president. Oh, by the way,
and the poll numbers, are bananas.
Who's
They're
tied
so good for him
with the incumbent president, with his own character questions.
I mean, so this really is a throwback to 2015 because you've managed to find.
I also recommended that the Democrats nominate Biden that year, so he'd be termed out if they listened to me back then.
You managed to find a way to blame someone else for Republicans' love of this crazy person.
It was CNN that created him in the first place.
But I mean, like so you say you believe that he has no criminal that he's not criminally responsible for anything related to January 6th, including the
I don't believe he should be. I don't believe he's criminally responsible for January 6th based on what I understand on that. I think he is ethically, morally, and in many, many other ways responsible and should have been impeached and convicted by the Senate, because impeachment is a political crime and there's no standard. That's the criminal standard is not the right standard.
That was one way that Republicans could have gotten rid of him.
Absolutely,
at the time,
and they should have. And I think I said that at the time. And if I didn't, I'm going to go back and amend my statements. But he should have been impeached and removed at that time.
That's not a thing that you can do.
Which go back and amend my statements?
Yeah,
you
can do that.
Do it all the time. In Jordan, where the taxes are low, actually our levy is going down 1 year over the next. So levy's going down.
Inside the state's biggest candy store.
Inside and out. And no, I don't want to.
If you go to the candy store and tell them you know the mayor, they give you an oversized lollipop.
I mean, the shine.
Just a regular sized lollipop in Jordan.
The shine is off the apple, but not enough.
No, but to who? Wall Street Journal had a poll today that he's leading DeSantis, his closest challenger, by 46
points. Well, DeSantis doesn't have a personality. And he was like, let me see if I can out-Trump you. And it was
Nikki Haley seems to have the most momentum right now for the challengers, but it's not going to be enough. I mean, here's the thing. If the Republican Party isn't going to stand up and say that that he does not have the ability to be on the ballots,
and they're not,
They're 100% not.
That's a crazy strategy.
Whether he gets convicted or is in the middle of the trial or whatever, none of that is going to matter.
And he still might beat Biden.
But what is it, Javier? I've never seen him as anything other than a television guy saying whatever he needed to say to get to be president. And I don't blame him the way other people do. I blame the people that buy it. I blame the people that say, "Oh no, he's a strong conservative. Oh, don't all that stuff he said before was before." He's amending his statements, a la the mayor of Jordan.
He's gonna have to go there.
And when he won in 2016, he brought a wave. Mike and I were doing
live radio.
We were doing live radio with our mouths agape that night because
which does not translate well in the format of radio.
It does not. Yeah. But that night, I don't know if you remember this, Mike, but our former friend who has since passed, Drew Lee, was in my ear as we were in the studio, and I said, "What can I say when she wins?" And Drew just said, "Don't gloat." And then we all know what happened. It wasn't what we thought was going to happen. And there's a million reasons we've talked about that, and we'll talk about it again. But I don't understand it. It's disturbing because you can believe that 2 or 3 or 4 or all of the indictments are politically motivated and that Donald J. Trump did not do anything wrong. And you can believe that there is another candidate on the Republican side that has a better chance to be president. And that is what I don't understand. If people want to support him and say that he didn't do these things, then, some can say give him his day in court to prove it. Some can say it never should have happened. But I don't understand how we don't look at one of these other really good conservative Republican candidates and say that person does not have the baggage that Donald J. Trump has, and why we feel like we are somehow
in the minority.
We owe him the ability to get revenge on those people going after him. I don't give an F. Move us up to 11 o'clock. And I don't give an F whether he gets to smite his enemies. He can do that on his own time. I care a lot that I don't think he's gonna win. I'm shocked at where the polls are. I don't think he's going to win, but I think if you put a Nikki Haley up or a Tim Scott or some other combination of those people, I think they do win.
Yeah.
And I don't know why this is something that I need to shout on a very successful podcast.
Yeah,
over and over again.
I don't understand it. Theories that you could go and you could start a whole nother podcast, and I think other people have.
Well, do you listen to the Bulwark podcast?
No.
That's the Never Trump. So like I listen to them, and they are like they're just like eternally baffled by everything.
Well, part of it is,
there's like but I mean I think like. From my perspective, from a Democrat's perspective, I think like the establishment of the Republican Party was okay feeding a crazy base for a really long time, and Frankenstein's monster is now running wild, and then everyone's like, well, shit, well now we don't control things anymore,
which would not have been possible in an era where the establishment of a political party, because I think the Democrats have a similar problem. They just haven't had it manifest in the monster yet. But the parties themselves are so diminished in their ability to police themselves based on primaries, based on campaign finance rules, the parties are in many cases the least relevant actors on quote unquote their own side, and the 527s and other groups. So I'm straight fire with this. Have no ability to police their own brand, and I'll Google when Brian's talking who said this, but it was like the political parties these days are fully fueled, gassed up 747s sitting on the runway with no pilots.
Yeah.
And anybody who can get to the cockpit first gets to drive the plane, and that's what we have, and that's a shame. And I think that after the 2024 election has come and gone, and we see another election between septuagenarian weirdos that are both questionable moral, ethical, and perhaps criminal character, maybe we can have a serious conversation about actual campaign finance reform that gets us to a place where political parties have the authority to manage their own brand.
Why wouldn't the Democrats, why wouldn't the Republicans want a young, attractive, charismatic person to be their standard bearer.
Brian McDaniel.
But I don't understand it. It goes against every political thought. Everything I was taught as a political operative, as a campaign guy. Mike was much more of a campaign person than I was, as far as like running campaigns and whatnot. It goes against everything. What happened was Bernie and Trump, they, to their credit, kind of returned the parties to the people. And I have a big problem with the choices that the people are making, but I guess it's theirs to make. But I'm surprised by it. I'm disappointed by it. I'm upset by it. And there's literally nothing I can do about it.
I think that it's a very different, like the situations we have. The Democratic Party has plenty of problems, but I think that what the Republican Party has done is, as after many years of building. Building a base based on the idea essentially that the rules, when the rules don't suit us, we change the rules, and just the lack of belief in democracy is people had no problem, like the January 6th folks that had no problem with because they don't, like, the point is power. It's not, the people talk about packing the court, like as a democratic thing. Like, the court is packed. The court got packed when Neil Gorsuch wasn't seated. And by the way, I haven't had you guys, both of you, together at the same time. I remember very distinctly when you guys mocked me together years ago on the podcast when I talked about Roe v. Wade being overturned, and you, Mike Franklin, laughed and said that's not going to happen.
Well,
I'm revising my statement.
I'm going to go back and check that and change it.
Yeah.
Lucky for you, that episode of the podcast.
And I'm glad it was. It was terrible law.
Yeah.
We should. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, do we still have everyone but the first three?
No, because weren't they on a YouTube channel? Nobody knew the password for?
It's on.
I've never actually looked to see how far back you can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one should be deleted because I was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it was right.
Well, anyway, let's go to plugs.
Plugs.
Who's got something?
We got no new patrons.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they should listen this week.
Maybe your Balderdash Stilts guy will.
Yeah.
Oh. Did you send him a link?
Yeah, I will do that tonight. He didn't respond to when he's probably in shock to learn that his granddaughter has no.
He's taking up arms.
Has not had cops in schools for years, because there are different ways of having safe schools. So patreon.com/wrongaboutEverything podcast. We sincerely appreciate those who can throw a few bucks our way. We have production costs and all other kinds of things. And
we're planning a big party. We just can't tell you about it yet.
It's coming soon, though.
Yep.
Yes.
It's going to be fun.
Patreon.com/wrongaboutEverything podcast.
Amy won't be there.
If you can afford it, and you don't, and you're listening to the podcast, you're kind of being a dick.
Well, because people every week, and this legitimately happens, people every week, if it's a good episode like this, one of my coworkers said that they really liked last week's episode.
Huh.
So
because Amy wasn't here. It's because Amy wasn't here.
Well, I didn't want to say that part, but
spoiler alert: Amy's not coming back.
She's not coming back. But she's in Montana. They took her to the.
Somebody said I made the biggest mistake in podcast history. Is that another Amy reference?
By leaving our podcast.
Oh, by leaving the podcast?
I believe so.
I understand.
I assume that's what they meant.
I'm sorry about that, caller.
Yeah.
But in any event,
caller.
So people are liking
Facebooker,
and we've been around 9 years, over 9 years, and
we've been around.
You don't do that if people aren't enjoying the podcast. So, like I said, this is not money that we put in our pocket. This is money that we absolutely turn back into the show, and merch and all the other stuff that we're eventually going to have. It's only been 9 years.
Coming soon.
Hashtag soon. So anyway, we would really appreciate it if you would do that and let us know.
Yeah.
We'll shout. Yeah. We'll say your name on your favorite podcast.
Yeah. If this commenter had given me their name, maybe they have. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
All right.
Call you by name.
I have a couple things to plug.
Brian has some plugs.
Oh, okay.
Every Tuesday, Amy and I are on the BS Show with Bob Sansevier. You can find us wherever you find your favorite podcast, and in many markets in Greater Minnesota, it is actually on the radio. This Sunday, I'm going to be on At Issue with Tom Hauser. That is at 10 a.m. on KSTP Channel 5. And then also, this Friday and Saturday, I'm going to be performing at the Burnsville Festival and Fire Muster, performing comedy. at the Burnsville Festival and Fire Muster. It's going to be on Friday night. I'm going on around 8:30 p.m. On Saturday night, I'm going on around 9:15. They have free music going on in Civic Center Park. I'm going to be on the Walzer main stage, and I'm being told there's going to be like a couple thousand people there. So I think it's a pretty big, cool event. It's free. So why don't you head down to Burnsville? You were going to anyway. They have the second biggest candy store, probably. And we'd love to see you at the Burnsville
6th
Festival and Fire Muster. There is a website. You can find it. It'll tell you the times of when all the stuff is going on.
What's a fire muster?
I've always seen that around. It must be. I think it's like a fundraiser for, but I don't know. I also don't know what Booyah is.
It is an event pertaining to fire or rescue services.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. It used to just be the Burnsville Fire Muster. Now it's the Burnsville Festival and Fire Muster. I've done their parade a billion times for candidates, but I've never actually been part of the festivities. So anyway, that's what I got. Spanks and thanks. Who wants to go first?
Do you want me to go first?
Sure. Yes, please.
All right. My spanks and thanks. Hold on. Let me find them. I thought of these much earlier today. Oh, God, looking through these. My spank goes to Wisconsin Republicans who ran with we talked about this a little bit. There was a race for, they have elected Supreme Court justices. There was a race earlier this year. The Democratic, the more liberal candidate, I guess they're not partisan.
They're not partisan,
but they each leaned a different way.
Yeah.
And each party supported someone. Janet Protasewicz won, and now the Republicans said, "Well, we don't like it, so maybe we'll impeach her." She hasn't ruled. She hasn't ruled in a single case yet, and the complaints that were brought against her through the judicial board were all dismissed. But they decided, and I think that just goes to your saying, Javier, of when you don't win.
Like oh gosh, sorry, I was trying to do something and put you on delay. I'm sorry,
when you don't win, when the people make a different choice, then you just try to overthrow the choice, and it's just like, okay, well, I don't know if voting on judges is the best idea. I don't know.
No,
But that's what they do in Wisconsin, and you lost. So just let the woman just be the Supreme Court justice.
Did they try having Mike Pence get rid of her?
I don't know if they asked.
I understand. Okay, because I understand that's his job.
You know what? If you can pronounce her name appropriately.
Protasewicz.
That doesn't sound right.
Protasewicz.
Whatever.
Yep.
She's the justice.
You almost had me. No.
She's the justice.
I can't
He's
buy
not.
It.
Yeah.
And my thank goes to a sign in my home state of Pennsylvania. Vivek Ramaswamy was there in Lancaster County at some sort of an event, and he was speaking. He was speaking with a hat that said "Truth" on it. Here it is, and then this sign that just says "Truth" just fell right on him as he was likely lying. And
the Four Seasons isn't what it used to be.
Right. And it's just such a good visual. And even the news announcers there were like, "Oh," and then he gets hit by this big sign.
It's really good on a loop.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Like, oh. So that was my thank to that sign right there.
I'd be happy to go next. I didn't come into this with a spank, and I decided, based on a quote from Javier, a comment that Javier made, I'm going to spank democracy. Because democracy, as currently constituted, seems to have conspired to deliver us an election in next year, which effectively, if you can believe the polls, which I understand is only one way of measuring things, is effectively decided that will be between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, who collectively 72% of the voters do not want to be their major party nominees. So democracy, do better. My thank, and I was privileged today. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have the privilege of serving as the mayor of Jordan.
I've heard.
Minnesota.
What?
You brought no candy.
I literally brought hundreds of dollars of candy. It's just not in the studio. It's in my car.
All right.
I will give you candy.
Okay.
All right. It's not a disavowal.
I've had enough of those.
I'd like to buy a disavowal.
Sure
I asked the governor's office to give me the disavowal in the form of a proclamation. But
Repudiación? Would that be the noun version of it?
Repudiación.
That's what it said.
Te repudio.
A te repudio.
Te repudio.
Oh, that almost sounds
I
like
repudiate
fun.
you.
Oh, well, that... Wait, you can't... Did you just repeat? Take it
I
back.
just repudiated you.
Oh, my God.
No, I will not take it back.
This is terrible.
Like everything I've said in the last week, I will not be taking it back.
Your Smarties are going to stay in my car. Anyway, I had one of our top priorities as a city was fully funding the 169-282 interchange, which is the last stoplight between St. Peter and Champlin. And
is that where the Pandy store is?
It's just before the candy store. If you're heading from Minneapolis, it's about a mile before it. We were successful, and we stood on the shoulders of people who've been working on this for 20 years. And at any rate, today we held an event in our city council chambers where we were joined live from Washington by Amy Klobuchar, in the room by Angie Craig, Eric Pratt, Ben Bakeberg, Tony Albright, Commissioner Barb Weckman-Brecky, and a lot of people who spent a lot of political capital and other capital working on this issue for many years. And it was one of those moments that we just have too few of in politics, where people of different parties come together, celebrate something important that's literally going to save lives and make people's lives better and also improve our community. So it was a really nice, profound moment that is too fleeting in the context of where things are today. And so I want to thank everyone involved, including and not limited to, and starting really with the staff that put all the effort into it. So thank you. That was amazing for, I think, everyone that was involved.
Cool. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So my thank is in Alabama news, again, in more news about Republicans
Roll Tide.
They don't like the rules changing them. The Supreme Court just famously this last session declared that Alabama's redistricting violated the Voting Rights Act, and they instructed the Alabama legislature to draw districts that would include 2 majority black districts. They refused to do that, so a court tossed out the Alabama written district, and now an independent, a court-appointed expert will now draw Alabama's congressional map. I hope at some point we just have a national standard of like independent commissions. But until then, hopefully Alabama can see a little bit more hope of democracy. That's my thank.
And not to interrupt or step on it, but when stuff like that happens, I get so encouraged because we have a system of checks and balances that really it works. We don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Our system does work, even though it doesn't feel like it. Sorry.
All right. And my spank is there was news of a Delta flight that made a U-turn over a diarrhea incident, and because we got this story from a British source. Diarrhea is spelled DIARRHOEA because it needs an extra vowel.
Right there. That's hippie nonsense.
It's
right
diarrhea.
That's verbal diarrhea.
Flight 194 was 2 hours into his journey on Friday evening when the pilot reportedly asked to head back. In audio posted to X, formerly Twitter, he said a passenger had diarrhea, quote, all the way through the plane.
I just don't know how.
And here's the thing, and I'm spanking I feel so bad because you imagine if you're that person, you're going to carry that embarrassment for the rest of your life because they haven't made the name public, but he knows, and everyone on the plane knows, and with the water cooler talk at work is going to be terrible. So anyway, Brian, I hope you feel better.
The ironic part was it was 1 hour and 47 minutes into a 2.5 hour flight, so they turned around.
Well,
went back.
We're gonna have a theme here.
But is it diarrhea?
Yeah. Well, it's something.
But before we get to there, my spank is going to be a serious one to Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, who has a long history of saying horrific things about the Jewish people. And he brought out some oldies but goodies again in a recent speech where he says that European Jews are not Jews and that Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler, he had Jews slaughtered because of their social role as moneylenders, not because of any problem with Judaism in and of itself. He says, quote, the truth that we should clarify to the world is that European Jews are not Semites. They have nothing to do with Semitism. He says that they are Turkish people, not descendant of the original tribes.
That makes the whole genocide thing different.
And he also says, and this is a quote, they say that Hitler killed the Jews because they were Jews and that Europe hated the Jews because they were Jews. Not true. It was clearly explained that the Europeans fought the Jews because of their social role and not their religion. Several authors wrote about this. Even Karl Marx, this is still a quote, several authors wrote about this. Even Karl Marx said this was not true. He said that the enmity was not directed at Judaism as a religion, but to Judaism for its social role. So just want to remind everybody that very serious threats do still exist to the nation of Israel from their partners, from their neighbors, from everyone. So while things are not perfect there, they're also, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not really after you.
When reached for comment, President Biden said, "You're hooting at the wrong owl, you nursery rhyming can of beans."
And it's balderdash on stilts.
I love it.
My thank is, I don't know.
Yeah, that is weird.
I don't know what to call it. It's just a thing that happened. Mm-hmm. So classes were canceled at Armstrong High School due to a sewage backup. So this is Robbinsdale Armstrong High School, which is not in Robbinsdale. It's actually in Plymouth. But it says here, a sewage backup impacting 2 buildings on campus forced officials to cancel classes at Armstrong High School on Tuesday. In a note sent to parents, shared with media members, the school says the backup impacted buildings B and C. Don't worry, building A was okay.
They really called it a backup?
They should number their buildings 1 and 2.
Yes, but needless to say, it's a huge disappointment, and it came at the worst time. That's what they said.
Right.
I don't know that there is a good time.
I was going to say, what would the best time have been?
And I would like to say that you're probably like, oh, why are you bringing that up? That's gross. Well, as a proud Robbinsdale Armstrong alumnus, I would like to say FALCONS. Armstrong Falcons are the best, except for all of the sewage in the school.
So how was homecoming? You were just there, weren't you?
Well, they brought me in for a speech.
He flew in on that flight.
Yeah. There's not enough pep talk.
Flew in from Amsterdam.
Boy, is my butt tired.
Oh, my God. I really did make the worst mistake ever by leaving this show.
Yeah.
It's true.
And with that, I am conservative strategist and proud Robbinsdale Armstrong alumnus, Brian McDaniel.
I am getting on my stilts, Javier Murillo.
I am small business attorney Davis Sensman.
I am democracy opponent Mike Franklin.
Balderdash.
We are Wrong About Everything.